Mr. Chairman. I wouldn't normally do this, but something I did in my previous life was I taught MBA students management theory and application. And let me tell you, the notion that top-down flexibility, that those two terms don't even go together. What it looks to me like is you've flattened the organization. And so I want to get specifically to what you just brought up, Mr. Secretary, because I frankly am pretty certain a bureaucrat made a mistake. Because there is no way that you could have made the agency so efficient that you could come into this mess right here with 264,000 backlogs and turn that into 105,000 in 1 year. So please enlighten me as to how that actually happened or who made the mistake.
There's no mistake. That is true. And it was put forth by our VBA, who actually came to us and said, we can do better in this, because I asked the question. And for those on the committee, you know this, and for staff who may be new, 125 days is our standard for a backlog claim. In other words, it has to be 125 days before it even goes on the backlog. So think about that for a minute.
Yeah.
This had grown up exponentially over time. And also, by the way, when I first came in last year at 264,000, there was also over 1 million claims in the pipeline. That now number is closer to 600,000 to 550,000 in the pipeline. We've been able not only to take the backlog and reduce it, but we've actually taken the total number as well. Now, there's been some false rumors thrown out that quality is suffering about this, and there's been other things. The truth of the matter is that when you have that much more cases being actually adjudicated, there will be people who appeal their adjudication. Not everybody's going to get 100%. Not everybody's going to get what they want. So what they have happened is there's again, I think a 3% difference in the number of appeals on the lower number that was being decided as to the higher number that's being decided. So this is done because great VA employees at the VBA saw the issue, they wanted it measured, and they got it done.
Well, I know this. If I'm really critically ill, if I'm sick, waiting 125 days to meet to see a doctor is not an enhancement in quality of care.
Yeah, this is their benefits to get there.
Oh, their
yes.
benefits.
Yeah, the benefit side, and this one is one that everybody looks at to start with.
Sure.
So it's our
but it kind of amounts to the same thing in the end. If you have the uncertainty, the angst, the anxiety of not knowing whether you're getting your benefits, and you wait 125 days, that adds to the problem, not the solution.
Can I share you something? It's even more, and I want this understanding. Again, this doesn't have to do with the reorganization we're doing now, but you need to hear, and the whole committee, I want to hear this. That we've been able to take this number not only down to 100,000, which we're going down even further, but average days to complete. That means how long did it take somebody to file a claim and get it completed? Was it 135 days last January? Okay, 135 days. That's down to 80 days now. And my staff tells me that if we can work with the Department of War to get the files transferred quicker from DOD, we could actually see legitimately within this year a 30 to 35 day turnaround time on disability claim. That's a win for veterans.
I love it. Okay, I need to make another point and ask a couple more questions with my next chart here. And that, we've heard a lot of these insinuations about how right-sizing the VA is forcing or pushing veterans out to community or to community care. But I want to point to this board that we create. I think it's 25 VA clinics have opened since January 20th of last year. So once again, backlogs are down, employee numbers evidently are down, and yet there's 25 more VA clinics. Again, did somebody make a mistake, or how did you pull this off?
No, I think it's just, like I said a few minutes ago, and I don't mean this to be anything, but if this is disorganization and chaos, then I want to see more of this, because we're opening the clinics. And go ahead.
Well, I want to point to the rectangular blank spot in the middle of the North American continent called North Dakota. Okay, there are two new ones there, one in Williston and one in Grand Forks. Now, the beauty of that is that those two communities are 333 miles apart, just so you know. 333 miles, and that's just straight across. In other words, there's a lot of space between those, which gets to my point of the legislation that Senator Sheehy and I have introduced to incorporate critical access hospitals, of which we have 37, and I will show you a larger map of North Dakota so you can see where they are. And I just, we have all these communities far from a CBOC or a hospital. We would, as you know, in our legislation, like to utilize these critical access hospitals in a more efficient way that both makes them better and provides better care to that local veteran.
Senator, we're on board with you. I agree with that asset, and that's one of the things we're looking for is to partner with rural hospital. Real briefly, our Undersecretary, is this a passion project for him? I want to address that because it is something we see needed. Also, Senator Duckworth actually brought this up a long time ago about co-locating some of these facilities, and I agree completely with you on that.
And Senator Duckworth, I appreciate the conversation we had the other day on this, and several of us have had this conversation. I've actually, been confirmed now for a couple of weeks. I've already asked the team to look at what, if any, restrictions are there for us to do some of our leases with them, the community access hospitals, because I believe that it is a double win because it helps support the facility itself, and then it supports our veterans where they are. And partnering with them to be part of our TPA network, our clinical care network, because even as we do this reorganization, the clinical care, the contracts, that's still going to be part of VHA. We're an integrated system. You have to have inside VHA, you have to run and manage the clinical care hospitals, or the contract for community care, and you have to run the hospital system. Yeah. But we're working on that, and I just want to say, I'm actually going to Ohio this weekend to open up another facility, and we have another 20 scheduled for this year, if I've got the number right.
Well, Mr. Undersecretary, I'm just glad that we could reduce our backlog here at the United States Senate of confirmations for you as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Hassan.